Coming up, the Reds walk it off and the Rays set another MLB record. This is Locked On Game to Game, MLB.
Every game, every team, every angle. Locked On Game to Game, your team every day.
Welcome in. You're listening to Locked On Game to Game MLB. Local experts join us to go over the biggest stories in baseball. I'm your host, Kainani Stevens. Thank you for making Locked On your first listen every single weekday. The Reds walked off against the Rangers on Monday thanks to TJ Fradel's game-winning hit. Both Locked On Reds and Rangers go over the exciting finish.
This whole business of being a Reds fan is not easy, but sometimes it's fun. What's up? This is Jeff Carr from the Locked On Reds podcast, and TJ Friedel made it fun on Monday night. Yes, the Reds were mired in a losing streak, and here come the Rangers, who are just as hot as the Pirates, who swept the Reds, but the Reds were able to take a win away. I mean, this was the Rangers game, right? There was a point in this game where we're just like, boy, Nick Lodolo's getting shelled. The Reds look awful, but they came back. They were able to take advantage of a guy who couldn't throw strikes, and then in the ninth, with TJ Friedel at the plate and Jonathan India on second base, the legend of Friedel grows. We have a lot to talk about on the next Locked On Reds, like what does this start mean for Nick Lodolo? Great to see Alexis Diaz. And where are we going from here? Make sure you check it out.
Sonny Gray looked great again for the Yankees as he improved to 3-0 on the season and his ERA dropped to 0.62. Locked On Yankees looks at another dominant showing on the mound.
This is Stacey Gotsoulias of Locked On Yankees, and the Yankees dropped the first game of a 3-game set to the Twins in Minnesota, 6-1. And who beat the Yankees? Sonny Gray. 7 shutout innings, 8 strikeouts, 3 hits. Cool. That would have been great for Sonny Gray to do that when he was on the Yankees. Also would have been great to do while on the Yankees. Joey Gallo hit a home run for the Twins. It'd be great if someone on the Yankees could hit a home run. Johnny Brito did better in this start than he did the last time he faced the Twins, but it still wasn't good enough. He gave up 3 runs. He had to exit after 2 2/3 innings because he just could not get out of his own way. He actually set down the first 6 of 7, and then he just ran into a wall full speed. So we'll have everything you need to know about this game on the next Locked On Yankees. And there are some injury updates because it's the Yankees and there are always injury updates.
Alex Cobb threw 9 scoreless innings for his first shutout on the mound since 2012, and the Giants shut out St. Louis yesterday. Locked On Giants and Cardinals recap the final.
On the night when the Giants finally got Mitch Haniger and Austin Slater back from the injured list, this game was all about pitching, and specifically Alex Cobb, who threw a complete game shutout, which is just so rare in today's day and age, and just such an impressive outing for Cobb as the Giants beat the Cardinals 4-0. J.D. Davis, big 3-run homer. Mitch Haniger hit a sac fly. That was the first run of the game. The one downside here is that Joey Bart appeared to injure his leg, legging out a double. It was a big hit at the time, and he has performed well this season. So I really feel for Joey Bart to get hurt in that exact moment. It's really unfortunate timing for him and the Giants at the catcher position. It is really not clear what it's going to look like if Joey Bart has to miss some time, with Sable struggling, Sanchez in AAA, Patrick Bailey in the mix. So that's going to be something to watch. But tonight, all about Alex Cobb and another Giants win, 3 in a row. So we'll break it down tomorrow on Locked On Giants, where it's your team every day.
A pitcher's duel by the Bay goes the Giants' way as the Cardinals lose yet another series opener. Hey, it's Shady from Locked On Cardinals, and a fielding error on Tommy Edman, one of the most reliable infielders in all of baseball, opens up the floodgates in the 7th inning as the Giants win it 4-0. Jordan Montgomery pitches a dandy of a game, but has nothing to show for it, and the offense gets completely shut down by Giants hurler Alex Cobb, who had the Redbirds pounding the ball into the ground all night long and throws a complete game shutout for the first time in his career. The Cardinals are now 0-8 in series openers on the season and 9-14 overall, and continue to be one of the biggest disappointments in the league this year. For the latest updates and info, keep it Locked On Cardinals.
Coming up, the Orioles win their 7th in a row. This is Locked On Game to Game, MLB. This edition of Locked On Game to Game is brought to you by BetterHelp. If you're thinking about giving therapy a try, you might want to try BetterHelp first because they are entirely online. They're designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. I've had therapy for years. I find it super helpful to get an outside perspective, kind of bounce ideas off a person that is able to bring it back to me and help me get a different perspective on things. If you fill out a brief questionnaire, you can get matched to a licensed therapist through BetterHelp and switch therapists at any time for no additional charge, which is sometimes difficult because you want to find the right person to work with. BetterHelp makes that really easy for you to do. So you can discover your potential with BetterHelp. Just visit betterhelp.com/lockedonmlb. You will get 10% off of your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/lockedonmlb. Welcome back. You're listening to Locked On Game to Game MLB. I'm your host, Kainani Stevens. Thank you again for making Locked On your first listen every weekday. The Tampa Bay Rays have been making history to start the season. They set a new MLB record with their 14th straight win at home to start the year. This time, Tampa took down the reigning champs, and Locked On Rays and Astros have a recap.
Hey, this is Kevin Weiss, co-host of the Locked On Rays podcast, and the Tampa Bay Rays continue to win and win and win as they down the defending World Series champion Houston Astros by a score of 8-3 at the Trop. Interestingly, within those 8 runs scored, there was not a single home run in the ballgame for Tampa Bay, which means their amazing, astounding streak of hitting a dinger in 22 consecutive ballgames now comes to an end. But hey, the Rays got the W. That's what's most important at the end of the day. And Taj Bradley, the rookie starter, making his 3rd appearance in the big league, struggled early, had a dose of reality come to him with that strong Astros lineup, but settled in to pitch 5 strong innings and get 6 strikeouts and ultimately the W for himself. So a good building block for him in the team going forward.
H.N. Wellhouse here with Locked On Astros, and the Astros fall to the Rays 8-3. Not before Mauricio Dubon could extend his hitting streak to 18 games today. A first pitch triple. Things looked good for the Astros early on. Alex Bregman with the home run. They score 3 runs. The Rays come back and tie it up. Urquidy did not look dependable at all on the mound. Forced Seth Martinez in the game really, really early. He didn't last that long. He did get 4 strikeouts, but the Astros ended up giving an 8 spot. They could not score any more runs as their offense seemingly flew to Houston before the game due to neck stiffness. They're getting Yordan checked out and tested and more than likely will not return for game 2 or 3 versus the Rays. He will play in Philadelphia. The second game will see Luis Garcia versus Rasmussen, one of the best pitchers in baseball right now. So hopefully the Astros can stop this 14-game home win streak by the Rays. Remember, we're your team every day. Go Stros.
The Orioles edged out the Red Sox yesterday in a 1-run win. That makes 7 in a row for Baltimore. Locked On Orioles has more after another victory.
Seems like it might be time for Chris Sale to hang him up. The Orioles cook the Red Sox lefty once again. The bullpen holds on, and the Orioles win it 5-4 over the Red Sox. 7 wins in a row for the O's. They're 15-7. Chris Sale looked awful. I mean, that guy is done. And the Orioles smashed him all night. He was lucky to get 3 double plays and a lot of good plays from his defense because the Orioles had about 1 million hard hit balls against Sale. They get 5 runs against him, and really it should have been more. And they only got the 5 runs, but the Orioles bullpen holds on. Felix Bautista was not available on Monday night. That means Yennier Cano comes in for his first Orioles save. And what do you know? He still has not allowed a base runner. The O's win it again. And I'll recap it all coming up on Tuesday's episode of the Locked On Orioles podcast.
Chicago White Sox trending the other direction. They lost their 5th game in a row by falling to the Blue Jays on Monday. And Locked On White Sox tries to figure out what's going on with the Southsiders.
The Chicago White Sox lost to the Toronto Blue Jays 5-2 on Monday night. Hey, I'm Nick Morawski from Locked On White Sox. If you missed the game, you did not miss much. For the second game in a row, White Sox offense only managed 3 hits. Toronto Blue Jays scored 4 runs with 2 outs in the 4th inning. White Sox have now lost 5 in a row, and they dropped to 7-16 in the season. They look to bounce back on Tuesday night with Mike Clevenger on the hill For more, check out the Locked On White Sox podcast.
Coming up, the Rockies shut out the Guardians. This is Locked On Game to Game MLB. Today's edition of Locked On Game to Game is brought to you by So Rare. Our new sponsor is a revolutionary fantasy baseball game and marketplace transforming fans into owners with officially licensed digital cards featuring players from across the 30 MLB teams. Unlike other fantasy baseball platforms, So Rare managers truly own their fantasy experience. You get to collect, buy, sell, and compete with player cards against global opponents to win epic rewards. Win or lose, you still own your cards and there's no cost for you to play. So head over to sorare.com/lockedon. That's spelled so rare, SORARE.com to draft your team of free player cards. Then you set your lineup and start competing today to win epic rewards. Again, that's sorare.com/lockedon to start playing today. Welcome back to Locked On Game to Game MLB. I'm your host, Kainani Stevens. Thank you again for making Locked On your first listen every weekday. The Rockies made easy work of the Guardians in Cleveland on Monday with a 6-0 shutout win. Locked On Guardians tells us what went wrong for Cleveland.
This was an ugly one. Cleveland gets shut out by the lowly Rockies. 4 straight lefties. They are 1-3 while facing 4 straight lefties. And Austin Gomber might be the worst of the bunch. I definitely saw someone strike out on an 89-mile-an-hour fastball. The funny thing is the best pitcher they faced also had the highest velocity. They just can't deal with soft-tossing lefties for whatever reason. That is the Achilles heel of this team. There's not much more to say. I did think it was mildly humorous that my MLB app would only update the Rockies stats while I was watching the game. It's like there's nothing to see here on the Cleveland side of things. That's how bad this one went. This is the soft part of the schedule, and if you are going to lose in the soft part of the schedule, it is not boding well. And yes, it is small sample size and it's early, but you have to take care of business when you're facing bad teams, and they're not right now. Curry did pitch, so let the games begin. Who's going to be there on Wednesday? Bybee be a week rest for him. My money is on Toussaint. We will have to wait and see.
The A's won a shootout with the Angels in 10 innings last night, with Oakland getting Mike Trout to ground out in the final out of that game. Locked On Angels in with more on a late one on the West Coast.
Hey, if you're the worst team in baseball and you want to get right, just come to Anaheim and we'll let you win. Hey, everybody, it's Mike Frisch, one half of Locked On Angels. The Angels played the A's on Monday night, and it was a back-and-forth, ridiculous game. Angels lose 11-10. There were highlights and there were lowlights. Highlights, Taylor Ward took away a grand slam. Lowlights, the bullpen blew it in this game. I'm not a drinking man, but the Angels are helping me to consider maybe I should start. John and I are going to recap this game on Locked On Angels. We'd love for you to join us, and I hate this team.
The Tigers beat the Brewers in Milwaukee last night, and our Locked On Tigers host has more after the win.
All right, Tigers win a ball game on Monday against the Milwaukee Brewers, ending their 4-game losing streak. I'm Scott Bentley of Locked On Tigers. Matt Boyd start, and it was a Matt Boyd start. That's for darn sure. Very on brand from what we have seen from Matthew Boyd over the years in a Tigers uniform. 2 solo shots, but also 8 strikeouts. Very on brand to say the least. There is some pitch mix stuff, though, through the changeup and the curve a decent amount. We'll talk about that on the show. Offensively, it really was, not to be a Debbie Downer, kind of a same old day aside from the Nick Maton 3-run homer. Like, we were that swing away from another inability to hit with runners in scoring position performance and another low-scoring 1-run loss potentially. So, but vibes are good. Vibes are high. We won a ball game. We'll talk about it tomorrow on Locked On Time.
That'll do it for this edition of Locked On Game to Game MLB. Thank you for making Locked On your first listen every single weekday. Baseball's back. Make sure that you're subscribed to Locked On MLB and your favorite team's Locked On podcast on YouTube and wherever else you get your podcasts from. I'm Kainani Stevens. This has been Locked On Game to Game.